Been thinking recently about what we do as a business and what it is that we get involved with, and it's pretty clear to me that we're throughout the life cycle of the building. So I thought I'd just explain what I see as being the life cycle of a building. Properties are built, properties are owned, operated, lived in, managed, and then they generally, after time, are refurbished, or something happens to them that is a refresh. And then over the, if you like, the extended life of the property, something may come along like a development that means that it gets changed, or the ownership changes and it moves on into somebody else's ownership, and then that could start again. So the life cycle's got a number of different steps, if you like, within it, or phases is probably the better word. So there's the first phase of it getting built and it getting designed up and constructed into becoming whatever the building is. And once that's finished, often the responsibility for that property changes. The challenges change then. So let's build it, let's get it right. Defects are obviously a big thing at that point, and the defect management coming out of that phase. And then you move into the ownership or the operation of the building, dependent on the type of building, dependent on the needs of the operations, but that operational piece is making sure that you've got good maintenance around everything within the property really, and making sure you're making legislation. And also coming out of that first phase is making sure the building does what it's meant to do. So does the building actually operate as it was intended, I guess. Important that you get the maintenance set up correctly in that stage initially, coming out of the defects, if you like, and into the operational phase. And then as the building keeps moving and I guess becoming occupied, you've got to check on things as you go. So is the energy being used right? Is the building actually doing what it was intended to do? Is there something that we've built that doesn't actually do what it needs to or should do for the occupants? And as you go through that, things develop around what you might change. So you end up with a bit of a plan around the changes that need to come through to make that building even better. So as that life cycle progresses, which could be, a full life cycle on a building, if you think about a concrete building or a steel building, you're looking at least 50 to 80 years. Within that time, lots of things change. The air conditioning, for example, in a building, which is where I sit within the building services, you change that probably twice or three times within the life of the structure. So it's having a plan around what you need to do within the life cycle of the property, which in turn might mean that you've got to change the functionality of the building, which in turn might mean that you've got to change the accessibility of the building. There's code compliance and all these kinds of things that come through within that operational phase. At some point, there's a need to refurbish, which again is a bit like the first phase really. It's what is it you're going to get out of it, and what is it that you're trying to redevelop into, or what is the function of the building going to be, which again is another project which starts again, and off you go through somebody doing that work, which is always different to the operational part of the building and the operation team. And then you move into the project and getting the project done. That can be very tricky in the fact that you've got to try and keep the building operational as well as doing work, so managing the risk around the tenant or the owner or the operator. And then gradually you get towards the end of the building's life, which may be that the local planning in the area has changed and the building that was there now is going to get knocked down and turned into something else. So the end of the life comes, and that might be about disposing of the building. It might be you could sell it or you knock it down, again it turns into another project, and then the life cycle of the property starts again. So the life cycle's got many different parts to it, I think, and very phases. So in my mind there's the construction, or if you like, and sometimes it's the purchase when somebody buys the building, the operation, the renewal, the operation again, and then potentially the disposal or redevelopment, and then you may start again. That's as I see it, the phases, I guess, of the life cycle of a building.